Hi, in this video, we are going to check how to connect to a SQL Server database and select the data from the database using Powershell. Then we will try to take that output into an HTML format as well. There will be a commandlet available with PowerShell if you have already the SQL Server installed in your system, which is called Invoke-SQL command. This is going to help you out to perform this database level operations. In traditional command line, you have a command called sqlcmd, and you can say the Invoke-SQL command is alternative or the replacement of the sqlcmd in command line. There are other modules also available like SQL PS, DBA tools, etc., which also got variety of functions available to handle the SQL Server management like backups, restores, security management, migrating databases, etc. In this lecture, we will discuss on how the Invoke-SQL command is helping you out to query the database level informations. Let us quickly check the syntax of the Invoke-SQL command here. So you can see that the server instance, which is actually the SQL Server instance where the script is going to execute. If you want to execute this query in a specific database, you can mention it as a parameter to this database. Username and password parameters are used if you're using a SQL level authentication. Credential is what you have to use when you're using a Windows level authentication. We have already discussed about how we can use a credential in the PowerShell scripts, which is the same way you have to use here as well. And the query is the most important part, which is nothing but what is a query that needs to be executed here. And query timeout is actually the timeout. It will get timeout after a specific interval. If you want to mention that in the Invoke-SQL command, you can very well do that. Connection timeout is a timeout till this connection has to wait before getting a connection timeout to the database. Input file is an alternative to the query. So instead of giving the query directly in this Invoke-SQL command, you can put those query inside a SQL file and you can refer it in this input file parameter. So that is all about the important parameters that you use for the Invoke-SQL commandlet. First of all, I'm going to show you how we can query a SQL Server using the SQL Server Management Studio, which is the inbuilt tool that is provided by the Microsoft. I will be connecting to my SQL Server instance, which is actually the central server. As it is a default instance, I'm connecting it using the server name itself. You can click on the new query. I'm going to type a simple query here like select star from sys.databases. So this query is going to give you the details about the databases in the instance central server. I'm executing this now, and you can see there are 4 databases here with lot many other informations as well. So I will try to get some specific information like name of the database and the current status of the database like state description, comma, user access description. So I'm executing this. Okay, so I got some details about the databases available in the central server instance. I am going to execute the same script in PowerShell and will show you how we will get the same output there in PowerShell as well. Invoke-SQLcmd and server instance parameter I will give my server name called central server as it is a default instance, and then in the query parameter I will give the same query that I have executed in the SSMS. Control C, Control V. So let me try to execute this here. So you can see that you got the same output that you got while executing the same query in the SSMS. Let me try to show you how to take this output to an HTML file as well. So in order to do that, I am using the convert to HTML commandlet. Convert to HTML as table, then out file cps, which is a folder in my system, slash database details.html. And I will try to open that using the invoke item commandlet. And let me try to execute this now. You can see that the first 3 columns shows the expected output, that is a name, status, and the user access details. But you got some more details as well, right? Which can be avoided by using the exclude property. So let me show you how we can do that. When you are taking the output here, you have to use a select here and use a star and use a parameter called exclude property and type all the columns that you want to exclude from there. So I'm typing all the columns that I don't want in my report and enter another pipe there. So let me try to execute this. Now we can see that you got the output with the expected columns, right? Okay, I will try to show you one more thing where I will give a table like output for this with some lines and all in between the content. So in order to do that, while we have discussed about the convert to HTML commandlet in one of the previous video, we have detailed about how we can use the headers and all in the convert to HTML commandlet. So we are going to do the same thing here. I'm going to create a header variable here, which is nothing but this one. And I'm passing this header variable as a parameter to the head option. So let me try to execute this now after giving the header file. Execute this, and you can see that I got the output in a table structured format. You can take this HTML formatted output and send to your database administrators, and you can very well add your conditions and all inside the script, whether the database goes from online to offline, what you should do and all. You can even try to incorporate the color coding and all, like if it is offline, give it a red and all. Those kind of things also you can incorporate. So this is a basic way with which you can take the data out of the SQL Server database using PowerShell. Similar to the select statement, you can do insert, update, delete operations as well in the same way by passing the input to the Invoke-SQL command. So instead of the select command, the command will change to insert commands and the update commands as per your requirement. As I told earlier, there are other modules also available with PowerShell that has been developed by different developers like SQL PS and DBA tools and all, which will give you alternate ways to execute the SQL commands. If you're using the DBA tools module, the commandlet with which you're executing the SQL scripts will be Invoke-dbaquery. So there are also similar commands available with those modules, like for backups, restore, security management, and other similar SQL Server management level tasks. Hope you get a real idea about how we can query the database informations using the PowerShell commandlets. And that's all for this lecture, and we will see you with a new topic in the next video. Thank you.